Episode 163 Above Ground Podcast, Beneath the Remains.
Disclaimer. The hosts of this podcast, Timothy Patrick and Will Foley, are by no means medical professionals. However, having lived experience with mental illness themselves, they have gained useful perspectives on common mental health issues that some of us struggle to overcome on a daily basis. By sharing their stories, they hope to create connection. By creating connection, they hope to help you find your purpose. And through purpose, we can all begin to build the foundation for positive mental health. This is Above Ground Podcast.
Coming at you live with real conversations about mental health from the perspective, it's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now your hosts, TPP and Will Foley. What is up, 518 and beyond? Welcome to Above Ground Podcast. We're going to be getting to episode 163 in a moment, but it is a few days removed from Nipper Fest 2022. That's right, the very first Nipper Fest, celebrating music, food, culture, all of it. It was amazing at the Central Park Music Haven in Schenectady. First off, it was hot, but this is summer, and we're going to be wishing we had this weather in about 3 more months when snow is flying and things. But first, we can't do any of this without Jim and Laura from Nippertown. So episode 142, Laura was on. Laura is a social worker, and she never stops wearing that fantastic hat that she wears. And Jim is the mayor of Nippertown. I can't thank either one of them enough. From Tim and I to you guys, thank you so much for allowing us to be part of the Nippertown roster and allowing us to be part of such an amazing event. And there was so much good music, great food trucks. It was hot, but we got to meet some amazing people. A lot of people came up to us and said they've listened to episodes, they knew about the show, but then we also had the opposite of, wow, I've never heard of this, a mental health podcast. Oh my God, I got to check this out. So if you're here for the first time or for the 163rd time, thank you so much. Thank you. Tim and I can't say thank you enough. Next, I'm going to start. I just want to say thank you to certain people and all the people that we met, of course, but there's specific individuals that are longtime friends of mine that I wouldn't be part of this if it wasn't for them, and especially Ralph Renna. Ralph Renna's band, The Tradition, started off the acoustic stage, started off the event. I've known Ralph since grade school. Ralph is an amazing guy. I can't thank him enough because Ralph helped Tim and I get the gym and get our stuff on the platform. So first off, mad props to Ralph. I love Ralph. He's like a brother to me. He's an amazing guy. And if you're around, check out The Tradition the next time they're playing. Ralph's been a part of this scene since, forever. Next, I just wanted to say a big shout out to Vegas Nacy and the crew from Empire Live who were the security for the event. No problems whatsoever. Everybody's super cool. Thank you so much to them. Vegas is another staple of the 518 scene, and he's done a lot of things. He's got a movie coming out. And we got to give him some props, man. He constantly, busts his ass to get out there and do his thing, and it's incredible. And he keeps at it. And big shout out to him. Also, mad shout outs to all of the bands, especially Josh Casano, who I got to finally meet in person. We've crossed paths online, but we've never got to meet in person. And Josh is a very talented dude, and I wanted to give him a big shout out because he is just awesome. Sydney Worthley, who is such a talented singer-songwriter from the 518 here. Her set was amazing. She has got such a beautiful voice. As a matter of fact, she's going to be on the podcast later in the year into next year. I got to finally get to meet her, and we talked about some stuff, and we think we're going to have her on, and that'll be awesome. Also, what can you say about a band like Super 400? I've known Kenny Holman since high school, and I've been fortunate enough to have shared the stage of Super 400 very early on in their career. As when I was in the band Freak Nation, we had done a couple of gigs together. But I've seen Super 400 numerous times now, as they are a part of the Dustin Mealy Memorial Concert every year, because of the family connection to Dustin and just being amazing people. Kenny, Lori, Joe, just such a phenomenal band. And if you've never seen Super 400 and you like rock and roll in the vein of Led Zeppelin, then they are your band. I'm telling you, there's nobody better at really gritty, awesome rock and roll. Not that there was ever a bad artist on this bill, there really wasn't, but these are just artists that I've known and I've come to see, and I didn't really get to see a lot of sets, but the people that I did get to see, it's amazing, and it's so good to be part of this community. This community is full of super creative, talented, caring individuals, and if you don't get out to shows, please, if you're concerned about your health, wear a mask, but come out to some local shows, man. We've got so much good local music, so many good events going on still left in the summertime. Big Nippertown thing coming up is there's going to be a Central Avenue WAMC, which is our public radio station here, concert series going on Saturdays in August. We'll have a little bit more information about that, as well as some other events that we're going to be doing coming up in the upcoming weeks. We are so fortunate, Tim and I are so fortunate and grateful that people are willing to share their stories with us. We met so many cool people yesterday, and I can't thank them enough for being open enough to say to us that, hey, I've had problems and I want to talk about things. I want to give a shout out to Abby and Steve and the whole Capital Region Living crew. Steve happens to be close to probably 6'1", I would think. And luckily to him, he heard Tim and I swearing about putting up our tent, and he came right over and helped us, and it was awesome. And we thanked him, and it was great. And also, Maura and Tom, I wanted to give a special shout out to. They were the first people that actually came to the booth, came up and met us, and Maura said she listens all the time and she loves it, and I can't thank her enough. Big virtual hugs to everyone we met yesterday. It was an amazing day. It was I'm grateful to have had the experience, and I can't thank everyone enough. So without further ado, we're going to get into episode 163, Beneath the Remains, and there's a special guest in the studio with us during this episode, one Kevin Maloney, who did not want to necessarily be in the episode, but he was there while we were recording, and I give Kevin big props, because Kevin's music is what leads us in and leads us out. Such an amazing friend, such an amazing talented guitar player, from the band Withstand, from the band The Final Sleep. I can't say anything else, man. Now, episode 163, Beneath the Remains. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast, because you can't serve below.
Are you down with TPP? What's up, buddy?
Yeah, you know me.
We back in the Hallam Halls, man.
Feels
back.
good.
It feels good. It's summertime.
Feels like it's been a while.
It has. It's summertime, but we've had some pretty cool shit going on the last couple of weeks. We were just at Nipperfest.
Oh, that's right.
So
that was good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was good to see all you people out there, all you pretty people out there, and thank you for stopping by and grabbing all your resources and being part of the Nippertown family, man. It's awesome every week, being part of this, that it's growing and you help by making it happen.
A lot of good bands.
Yeah, a lot of good bands. The Figs, dude. I'd never seen the Figs in my life, so
no.
They were on RCA too at one point. I think Imago, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I remember.
If I'm not mistaken.
I was still in high school, so
When you were in high school and the figs were around?
I think yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
If it's the figs, because I remember one of the I believe I thought it was the figs. One of the teachers that I had listened to them,
Okay.
and I was like, I knew the name from just the flyers and Metroland and whatnot.
Dude, they were like a steady at Bowie's and stuff for many years, and
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw them though.
I never got to see them, but
Maybe it was in junior high, maybe. I don't know what it was.
I think I was always playing when they were playing, probably touring when. Anyway, you know what I mean, when they were touring.
I was probably always at a Withstand show.
That's probably true. We actually have a guest in house tonight that'll go nameless because he's not on mic. So, but it happens to be
Which is the way he likes it.
just the way he likes. He likes to fly under the radar. He does. He likes to fly under the radar. Our friend, and musical producer for the show, actually, because our intro and outro music was done by none other than Mr. Kevin Maloney from Withstand and
Final Sleep.
and the Final Sleep, and he happens to be
else
here
he
with
has
us.
his hands in.
He's here just checking out the shindig and watching us do our thing. So we're
Make sure
happy
you
to have
check
him
out the intro and outro,
that's right. Make sure you check out the intro and outro.
because we have important things to say.
That's right. Important. We
What do
always think we have important things to say.
We do. What important things do we have to say today?
I don't know. You fucking tell me what important things I have to say. I don't know what I have to say.
What are we on? Episode 163, right? Already?
Yeah, let's not harp on the numbers.
Okay, let's not do that.
Let's not do that.
So,
let's not harp on numbers. Numbers are numbers. You know
Okay.
what I mean? They don't lie, but
you never know what
the
happens
hips don't
around
lie.
here.
You know what I mean? You never know what happens around here.
So, per usual, listening to my per usual, listening to my iPod, listening to my music, and a song comes on, and I was just like, that'd be a cool title. We could work off of that. While Beneath the Remains is playing in the car ride, so it kind of just brought to, in my head, it kind of went to like digging through all the wreckage that happens during either, during life or even during the healing process. But I guess maybe after the life process, you deal with the shit that, you're trying to make sense of everything that you're digging through. So
Is it after though? I think you kind of. I think you kind of have to. I think you kind of have to go through the shit.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
As you're going through, but then you have other shit that has to be disseminated at the end, maybe.
Because I don't think. I mean, I know for me, I'm obviously everyone's different situations, but like things would happen, say for me, and then like I wouldn't, start digging until, it wouldn't be immediate digging process. It would be kind of like some insight and maybe some therapy, and then to try and get.
All right, let's start here. What starts the digging process? Because some people are going to be like, what the fuck are you digging? You digging music? You digging? No, we're digging through our shit. We're digging through the trenches of our lives, that all the good things, the bad things, the ugly things, the pretty things, all of it.
All the things.
How do we start digging? Like how do we start? Where do we start? Do you think it's an event that causes us to start digging? Do you think that there has to be that catalyst, or do you think it can be do you think that we have as human beings that much self-reflection in ourselves built without having to go through crisis to get to the digging?
Wow, Will's got me on the spot today. I think it's probably a little bit of both, just because I don't, as we all know, it's never just like, I can't really, it's not a one size fits all. There's never just one specific thing or way to do it. But I would tend to think that it would be more of an event, some kind of crisis or situation or life-changing event that happened.
All right. I wanted to just establish that.
Yeah. No, you're right.
That ballpark, because, you can look at all kinds of things, but in our context, I just kind of wanted to have our little stadium built.
No, you're right. And I think you actually bring up a good point, because I think sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a crisis or something to that nature to get us, looking for that shovel. And
Yeah, sure as fuck does.
and go, let me dig through this pile of shit that was dumped in front of me and sift through it, and maybe I can find some remnants that are useful, and also at the same time find some stuff that's not useful, and we can free up more space for the positive things to come.
You just put this pile of shit that was dumped in front of you, and I think we dumped the pile of shit ourselves. I don't think anybody can necessarily. Yes, someone can cause. Or be the catalyst also.
Or sometimes
that seems to be my 10-cent word tonight, catalyst. So.
It's all right. No, that works. It fits, I think. But you're right.
I'm just because.
So either way, there's a pile in front of us, whether we had a hand in it or not.
We always have a hand in it.
We have more a hand in. Once it's there, I think that's when we really have more accountability. Like sometimes,
I agree.
Sometimes
it
can just whatever circumstances are maybe on our control, and there's a pile there. So depending on what we do with it, that pile, it can get bigger, or we can start digging beneath the remains and see what we can find to maybe work with, maybe even out the pile or.
And it's not compost, so if you leave it there long enough, plants won't grow under it. You have to clean it up.
Yeah, you
remember, there's dog poop bags. You have to pick it up. You may not have to pick it up all at once if it's your fucking lawn, but you have to pick it up.
You do.
Sorry, it's summertime.
No, it's
That's
all
my
right.
PSA. Pick up your dog shit.
PSA and catalyst. That's Will's 2-cent words tonight. We got 4 cents, folks. We need one more
No, we
cent.
don't. We only got 3.
3?
PSA is not even a word.
Ah.
It's an acronym.
What's it for? I don't even know.
Public service announcement. Or something with your prostate or testosterone, or it's a test for your.
Really?
To see, yeah.
Only on Above Ground podcast, folks.
Yeah, can we
back to the wreckage? Some of the pieces.
That'll be your wreckage.
Some of the pieces that you're gonna encounter, you might even be familiar with. Like Will said that
I think you're familiar with all of them. Well, and let me I just want to point this out. When I say you've had a hand in it, okay, I'm not saying that you had a hand in somebody hurting you or abusing you or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, when you've exhausted therapy and everything else and things still don't seem to be as good as they could be, you have to think about how you're handling it and how you process it. Yeah. But it's not that there's certain things that aren't your fault, but you still are forced to clean up.
It's your
responsibility. It's your responsibility,
yes.
Unfortunately, because nobody else can do it for you, man.
Right.
Nobody. And I'm sitting here staring at him and his fucking arms, and I'm like, nobody can do the push-ups for you. Nobody.
Nobody. Get down, Will. Give me 20. He's not talking about my arms either, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
So going through. As you reach down beneath the remains and going through everything, I think some things you will recognize, like Will was saying. But as we all know and we've talked about numerous times, a lot of stuff is left over from childhood. So some of it, a
lot of it
may not. We may have touched it before at one point or saw it, but we may not recognize it right away and know its purpose.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention Bessel. Because I just started,
re-listening.
Well, I'm not re-listening. I still haven't finished it. Like the audiobook is like 16 hours long, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest with everybody out there, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Mental health right now for me is a stress. It's all I've been doing, and I'm burnt and I'm tired.
Gotcha.
But I realized also that I still need to do stuff, so I decided I was gonna put on The Body Keeps the Score because I've gotten to a certain point, and then I found some interesting chapters, and it's funny because that's where I went to on there. It's talking about trauma and trauma from childhood and things. And even trauma as an adult, leaves another mark.
Oh, yeah.
It may not have the same scope as it does when you're younger, depending on what it is. But even as an adult,
Oh, for sure.
we can still get traumatized by things.
Absolutely. Especially if it's something that, we already have that scar. If whether your scar is,
That's really what it is.
Scar,
it's reopening. It's reopening wounds,
that.
man, and that's what we find that so many people have trauma from their childhoods that even if their childhood they didn't think was that bad or whatever, or traumatic, something may have traumatized them that they don't even realize is there.
Right.
Until they realize that they've, punched their boss in the face 3 times and they're wondering why they're all angry. It's because there's something else under there that you have maybe only subconsciously have forgotten, because our wonderful body and oftentimes will shut us down in the times of severe trauma. It'll actually, you will literally shut yourself off in an event or something happening, and what happens is that gets put in the back, and when you hit that thing, it's like hitting the worst thorn in the world.
Yeah, that's why they, I think more and more research now, even, as far as somatically, is, being mindful of that sensation, when you're triggered or when something comes up, to see what it is that you're feeling, where it is in your body.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to that.
It's
weird. It's still weird to me because I've tried to do this in real time, but I still seem to feel the same. I still feel the same everywhere. It just feels like it feels like my meat vest is just wearing a weighted jacket on top of it, and it just feels heavy everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's something, though. I mean, I think
it is, but it's like you're feeling it in your body. But when I hear that, though, I'm like, okay, am I supposed to be feeling it in my arm? Is it going to hang out in my shoulder? Is it going to hang out?
It's different for, you know what I mean? It's different for everybody. And if you may have a lot on your plate and maybe you're going through a stressful time in your life now, it's added weight, right? So then you're like, all right, well, maybe 2 months down the road, or say you're having some good moments and you're starting to come out of it a little bit. Maybe you'll notice little areas in your stomach or your jaw or whatever. But right now, maybe it's just a lot. And, you may not think it's a lot, but obviously your body's saying, hey, asshole, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot, man.
Recognize.
Recognize.
So, those are all. I mean, I think anything that could be psychological can manifest into physiological.
Yeah, I think it does, all the time.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, though, if you have
scars,
but if you have good habits too,
right,
you can control that.
And even then,
then, it makes it difficult.
I wish I remembered his name. I can't. So James Clear, might be James Clear. He did it's about habits. It's about your habits. But he was saying that even you can have almost to the point where you're creating new pathways. You're setting new habits, and it's your old habits are still actually there. They're just pushed to the back. Where some people say your old habits die.
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Yes. Yeah,
that's a good book. That's a book. Oh, yeah. It explains a lot, because he says that your your old habits don't die. So even though you have these new ones that you've been doing for years, under a stressful, any kind of duress or even a life-changing, those old habits are going to be the first thing that pop up, and those are going to they're right there. So it's almost like you said, real time. Sometimes it's
dude, real time. You don't
have a choice. It just comes up because it's so ingrained.
It is, and I realize, beneath all that, I realize that I have avoidant tendencies.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I have them big time.
Yeah, no, I know you do. You've admitted it in different ways, not labeling it as avoidant.
No, it's avoidant.
Right.
It really punched me in the face.
Did it?
In the last couple weeks that I really have avoidant tendencies. And
how did can I ask, or do you want to?
It's communication. It's not wanting to hear things you don't want to hear, even though you know they're true, even though
You know, it's all those things, and it comes. It actually the best thing about it is that it kind of brings me back to, like, I've been on the positive flip of this, as much as my mood has just been kind of shitty and I just got all these things going on. What it's allowed me to do, though, is reconnect Billy again in a way that I have not been able to do, because what the insight that I've really had in recent months is that since whenever that was at the end of 2020, I can't remember now. Well, when I told you about
the Billy
thing on when I was sobbing uncontrollably, I've been able to slowly I keep going, and I don't feel as split from myself as I normally do. What I feel is very unmoored, and the anchor that is on my wrist, and I've said this before, is that I feel like an anchor was pulled up and then it was thrown in the boat, and now I'm just kind of drifting on in the current.
Well, it's a step to get at least the anchor up, right?
Well, it's a step to get the anchor up.
So,
and again, the perfect yin and yang analogy, because an anchor can hold you in place or it can release you.
Right.
And
it's one of those things that's almost like, in a way, like beware what you wish for, which you've talked a lot about.
I said this to you, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Or hijack this, but I said this at New Year last year on my birthday. I said, teach me whatever it is you got to teach me now.
Right.
Because I'm
getting tired.
I'm not getting tired. I am tired.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how much time I have left.
Well, I
really feel like it's coming, whatever that is.
And I think going back to like what you just said, teach me, I think sometimes we have to be a little bit more specific, precise with our words, because you know what I mean? Like, and then you get into the situation like let me just say this, like, if you said to yourself, let me just get this anchor up, let me feel a little bit free. So okay, now it's up, but then now's the second part. So we don't say, let me get this anchor up and get rid of it, and then put the wheels in my hand so I'm able to steer a little bit.
Right, and unfortunately, when you're buried under when you're drowning, and your treasure underneath, and somebody, I'm not going to say I'm treasure. Okay, I'm not a treasure. That's for fucking sure.
You're definitely pirate booty. Don't lie.
Yeah, I'm pirate booty. All right. But it's it takes somebody. It takes strength to get down to the bottom to undo that treasure, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
no, and and this kind of connects. So I'm going to just read this little thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
It kind of connects to what we're talking about, because going through the wreckage, going through the remains, I think you really have to pay attention to what I think even if it's like brings you a negative vibe, I think you have to kind of look at it, go through it, because I think you have to have a clear understanding of what you're holding. And then on the other hand, what we were just talking about, you have to have a clear understanding of what it is you want to invent for your future. You know what I mean?
But what if you don't know that yet?
That's fine. It's not like but I think it's something that you should.
Or is it the fact that you just know you want something different?
That could be, that could be.
And maybe that's the door. Maybe the door just opened.
Right. That's the extra shovel. Maybe a little bit deeper of a shovel. You know what I mean? The better, so then you can unearth more.
Well, yeah, we just went from a little beach plastic shovel to a metal shovel, man. Wow, right. We're moving up like Bob fucking Vila here.
Bob Vila. Bob
Vila
is
fix
actually
the old house
in
here.
The studio right here.
Yeah, right.
I used to actually call him MacGyver.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I could see that.
Something like, something at the store would break or something. You'd be like, let me get this pen and...
Yeah? Yeah, I could see that somehow.
Rig up something.
That's why he's invaluable to everyone.
Right.
It's just, he's He's our Kevin.
Yeah, so again, talking about like, having that clear, something, or having something that being clear and precise with what you want to invent. You don't have to, if you don't know, but you can still say, well, I know I don't want that. Maybe that's it. Maybe you can start with the things that you don't want.
And I think that's probably a good place to start. What don't you want?
List.
Well, you don't want this. You don't want that. You don't want this.
Right.
But I really want that.
Right. And then even some of the things that you're holding, you could say like, all right, so then my left hand's got all the stuff that I don't want. And then the stuff in the right hand, you could say this is the stuff that I do want, and then question why you want it. And that might help with that process of why do I want these things? Because they're bringing me some positivity and joy into my day. So let me look for something that's surrounding that and create something towards that.
All right, well, I'm going to throw a wrench into your
pit.
What happens if in going through some of that shit, some of the shit you're holding actually isn't all bad? Like, what happens if it's that yin and yang it, that there's good in it and bad in it? How do you make that decision to say?
Well, hopefully, again, I think with some therapy, you can work through some stuff, maybe even yourself. I think journaling can come in great use in having some insight as to what you're holding and say, if maybe some of this stuff is good, and even start one piece at a time and kind of, I always say connect the dots and look and see why it is. And then maybe some of it may not end up being a positive thing, or if it is, then you have to look at your thoughts surrounding that thing. Maybe it's the way you're looking at it. Maybe it's the way you're thinking about it. Is that's part of the problem?
Yeah, well, the way I'm thinking about it is definitely part of the problem.
Right. That's usually.
Fuck. Hence the reason why I'm 1 in 5. Hence the reason why you're 1 in 5.
Right.
It's the way we think.
Right.
It's the way.
No, I know. Absolutely, I agree. But I think a lot of people don't. I don't know if they don't see it that way or they don't want to see it that way, because then I have some accountability over my thoughts.
And that's a pretty scary thing for most individuals.
It is. How much do we talk about the limbic jukebox and that groove in the record? You know what I mean?
Dude, it just drops and you're just automatically, I'm right there. Right. I'm right there.
So it takes time to
those records. Holy shit.
Grooves in the records. But again, it's possible these things are, and again, with the habits, I wish I had it with me. I wrote it down the other day. That's what it was. Because how a lot of people talk about the time frame of time, like 30 days can create a habit. And actually, Dr. Caroline Leaf.
30 days can create a habit, but fuck, I can get 32 days into something and blow it all to shit.
Well, that's the thing. So listen, so Dr. Caroline Leaf is a neuroscientist, and she's got a great book, Clean Out the Mental Mess, I believe. But she says like the 30 days would bring the habit in to make it more less invasive in your life. So it would be it's more of a habit, but you would need like 35 more days on top of that to create something that's going to have an effect, like neural pathway wise.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
But that makes
James
sense.
Clear in his book was saying that it's not necessarily about the time, but about the work you put in, which I was like, it hit me. I was like,
But he's right.
I know.
Because again, like
like you said, you can do 35 days and go, it's not really working. And maybe, and I'm not saying you or anybody's not putting the work in, but like maybe you have to look at it and go, okay, well, I can't. Again, our thoughts. I'm going to start this today, and in 35 days, I should have a habit. You're already fucking yourself because you already put that.
Well, you're already putting that barrier on yourself.
Right.
But again, and we've talked about this before, I have that penchant for one day, bad day equals more bad days.
Right.
But
it's work. I mean, that's why we're warriors. You know what I mean? That's
well,
why
it is work. It is work. And
warrior.
I didn't realize
it's every day a pride swallowing siege.
It is. Every day is a pride fucking swallowing siege.
No, but I mean, we've talked. I feel like I repeat myself, but like working out. If you have somebody that wants to work out and live more of a healthy lifestyle, it's not. They don't just go to the gym like, one day a week. It's like they're getting healthy sleep. They're eating better. They're paying attention to what they're eating, and maybe they're going to do legs one day, and the next day they're doing all. You know what I mean? They have a thing that they do that creates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That creates the whole end product, and they continue it. They don't just go there for a month and go, oh look, I feel a little bit better, and then stop. And you know what I mean? It doesn't work that way, and that's the same with this.
Except they may not feel good about themselves either.
They may not. No, they may not.
Because that's what a lot of that is too.
Right. And unfortunately, it's,
because again, any good habit, even good habits, can turn into negative habits.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on the reason why you're doing them.
Right.
And again,
the reason why
maybe
you're doing
beneath
it.
the remains, the reason why you're really doing them isn't what you think it is.
Could be.
Because that's what we've discovered is that, just like with emotions, that emotion that you're feeling on top isn't necessarily the reason why you're feeling that emotion. It's the second, the third, the fourth level underneath that anger, like especially for us. Like anger is this thing that that men are known for, obviously, for lots of reasons, be it testosterone, be it whatever it is, be it just the way things are culture-wise.
A lot of men, it comes out with, it's actually like a symptom of depression.
Well, it is. That's what I was trying to get to, is that like your anger, you're being mad at the red light and being mad at the guy who cut you off and everything, is not necessarily about them it's not even necessarily about the cutoff or anything. It's about something that is going on that is 3 levels deeper than you're fucking pissed off because you're going to a job that you don't like. Right. If that's what you're doing.
Right.
If that's what you're doing. Or you're stuck on a road that you don't want to be on.
I think you made a really good point, though, about how like the habits, can have, depending on what you're doing it for. I think that needs to be said again, because I think you're right. If someone were to, I'll just say go to the gym, because it just seems to be like the popular thing. And if someone goes to the gym and it's like, well, now I'm going to lose a little weight, I'm going to gain some muscle, and because of that, people are going to like me. You know what I mean? So if you're doing it for that reason,
right. So
which is
there's
any
obviously
kind of it's almost like expectation, with anything, you know what I mean? Any expectation you set is going to be. I'm not saying don't do it, but it will set you. If you don't, if you go in there and do this, and well, geez, now I got muscles and I lost weight, but no one likes me still. So there's that expectation.
But is it the expectation, or is it your reason for the expectation? Because like, if I was to, now, for me, I'm not going to go to the gym to say everybody's going to like me. I hate myself, so why the fuck do I care if anybody else likes me? No, I'm just kidding. I actually don't hate myself. I'm a lot further ahead than I was 3 years ago when we started this shit.
So we should celebrate that.
But just saying though, like, I don't necessarily think having an expectation is an issue. It's how you perceive. Maybe it's how you perceive that expectation.
That's a good point.
Just because obviously, if you're going to school and you're trying to get your degree, you have the expectation that you're going to get your degree, and if you do the work, you're going to get your degree. There's nothing wrong with that expectation. So, like, is it expectation, or is it just, just our fucking monkey minds that run all over trees and go and just we can't control?
So in that situation, I would think it'd be better to stay focused on what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish.
So have a goal and stay focused on the goal.
Right.
The end goal. But isn't it important though? But isn't it important though to have a reason for the goal? Is it important to have a reason for the goal?
I don't know.
If you start a project, why are you starting it?
I was going to say, let me say this. I would think that 9 out of 10 times there's a reason, whether you know it or not. You want it, you know what I mean? But I don't know if I don't know if, number one, if it's important in it, and number two, I don't know if it's something that we sit down and fixate on and go, this is why I'm doing it, maybe. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to see like a different like situation with that. I don't know. Because to me, it's almost like you said, like the goal, set the goal, have this, and then, but I think that focusing on the end result can trip people up because you're not focusing on the step in front of you.
I agree.
And I think, again, this is going back to that book, it's actually focusing on the habits that you will put in place that are going to help get you closer to that goal. Because it's the habits that you do, right?
Yeah, well, it's the habits that, I mean, obviously, it's the habits that you put in place to whether it's study or whatever it is. Right. So yes, yeah, I guess from climbing out from underneath the remains, I guess you got to have a process. I guess you got to have a process, right? Yeah. Trust the process of.
That's the thing, and trust the process. I mean, there's definitely some variables to it, but you know, I think if you trust the process, trust have some, I don't know what the word, like trust yourself. You know what I mean? Trust in what you're doing and don't underestimate like your part in this. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's easy for people to underestimate their part in it, but I also think it's easy for people to get sidetracked because if you have a habit, and maybe it is a habit, maybe everything is a habit. And
check that book out.
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, like I've had this insight about myself that there are things like that I have that are just habitual. Like I've noticed it. Like some of my reactions are just habits that I've developed over the years.
Absolutely.
That are just like I'll walk out of the like, okay, where the fuck did that come from?
Right. And sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it.
Right. Like, sometimes, and then you're trying to figure out.
And then someone's like, well, why did you do that? And then you go, shit, you know what? I don't know why.
I don't know why. And that started me on the thought to say, okay, well, you know, yeah, I really have been doing those things.
So going back to the kind of the beginning where like you were saying, like, what does it take? Like what kind of is going to push? What was your 2-cent word?
The catalyst.
Yeah. What's the
what's the catalyst?
Well, I'm wondering if maybe it'd be good to have, if you're able and if you have somebody close, family, friend or something like that, have somebody like that struggle buddy that can like kind of step back, because let's face it, our views are going to be skewed a bit, right? So if I step back and go, geez, well, you know, do you realize you're doing that? And you're like, no, doing what? You know what I mean? And then we can go, okay, and then you can go, geez, I do that a lot. And then you can go, yeah, I do that a lot. And then after you do it, wait and be mindful of it. When you get into a certain situation and you do it, maybe you can stop and go, ask yourself why you're doing it.
That's what really prompted that whole thing about avoidance. Actually, I got called out. I got called out on it, right, and rightfully so. And I know, and then I started to think, and then I was like, okay, let's think about this. Avoidance, avoiding.
See, you're connecting the dots, right?
Yeah. And it's just like you start to realize, wow, you know.
See, that's the part of the healing that I think will deter most people too, is that.
Well, here's the biggest fucking kick in the ass, is that you think you already figured stuff out 20 years before, and then you realize you didn't fucking figure anything out. No. You just either you avoided it.
In your mind, you thought it, like, you know, and it couldn't be, and you know, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing. You could actually, in your mind, think that it was you were doing something, you know, you thought you had it figured out, like, it's, you know what I mean?
And I honestly
that's
did.
What I'm saying. So like, I'm not saying it in a negative way,
because at the time I was doing things completely different and feeling different about myself than I was. Yeah. And then you do something different, and then it brings all this shit back and then unfortunately it brings the whole tornado in together. Right. And then you don't realize, you know, for another 20 years that you really haven't fucking solved a goddamn thing. And then you're looking at yourself going, wow, you're a fucking pretty sad 50-year-old.
Well, that's the part where you have to ixnay and stop and go, don't say that part yet. because that's where we get. That's you know what I mean. Like we're already.
It's a habit.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
I know.
It is.
Believe
it
me,
is.
I know.
And that's the reason why those jukebox. That's the reason why my jukebox is filled with the records it is.
Right.
And I notice it because I go to those same songs.
Who picked those
I go to
records?
those songs all the time. Right. I put them in there.
You put them in there and you play them.
I put them in there and I play them. And I play them because it brings me back to those feelings of every. And then it solidifies in my mind what I always thought, which has been, which is not necessarily right.
There's that spiral.
Right. It's the death spiral.
Let's be fair, though. Sometimes we don't intentionally hit play on those songs. Sometimes we get busy, and like a jukebox it'll go, and then it'll just pick the next record and come, and then it'll just, and then, you know what I mean? And then
but
we go,
I also have always, but again, I have a problem with change, and I have a real issue with familiarity. And
what do you mean by that one?
It's real easy for me to stay in a situation or in a feeling because it's familiar.
Oh, okay.
Than it is to change something, even though you need to change it.
Right. Just because you're almost like a fear of the unknown, sort of.
Fear, just fucking fear, straight up. Fear that everything is just going to come crashing down on top of you,
and that could be the. I'm gonna steal your word. That could be fear could be your catalyst for avoidance.
Well, fear is my catalyst for avoidance. Fear of a lot of things, man.
You said it before. You said,
but I also know this. The reason why I have this fear is because, and I've recently discovered this as I've been doing the work and working with my therapist, and not that I see her very much, and then working with Greg, and then working with the paper and the pen, because I find it very therapeutic to write. Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way, doing artist pages or morning pages where you just free write is incredible, because you can just write whatever the fuck you want.
Right. You're allowing the space,
and you're just allowed, right? You get it out of your space, and it actually processes differently. It's it's scientifically proven that your brain processes different things. Your brain processes written things differently than it does reading, hearing. Yeah. It processes them differently when you write them. So I try to make a real habit of that. That's the only habit that really sticks, because I feel the need to pick up the paper and pen all the time.
And also stick with it and see,
And they're just like they're everywhere. It's a mess. But what made me discover this was going back to that dining room table. And that kid underneath that dining room table, all he wanted was his fucking Easter basket. An Easter basket that he was programmed for the last 5 years to get. But what I realized is that fear was I had no control over it. And I have always felt a lack of control. And I don't know if that lack of control is me, or if it's a control, like fear of, I don't know. I haven't quite figured it out.
That's something to dig into, though.
But I do have a fear of something, of many things, actually.
Well, I remember you had once told me that you actually had a fear of like achieving things.
Yeah. I have
almost like I
think a lot of us do. I think a lot of us in this position that suffer from mental health challenges
that live with mental health challenges.
Well, hold on a second. No, because here's the thing. This is what I've really discovered. A mental health challenge does not mean you have a mental illness. Okay? A mental health challenge, and I was having this discussion last night with on the meeting.
Okay.
And I said this. I'm like, just because you have...
No, I agree.
Just because in life, okay, you're faced with some grief and you get depressed, dude, that is not a mental illness.
Right.
Okay? There has to be criteria. You have to check the boxes.
Right.
Like, there's a difference.
We've
and you can really, life sucks sometimes, man.
Right.
It'll punch you right in the face, and you're not prepared for it, and you're gonna bleed and cry.
Well, that's why we have these emotions. That's why there's ups and downs, and like it's like okay, like if for a perfectly good reason, like you said, if you lose a job, a family pet dies, there are reasons to be depressed.
Right,
to have
but
these
that's not depression.
right.
And again, as a culture, we've kind of co-opted all these words to mean all these many things, and then when somebody like me calls somebody out for saying the wrong word and they get all pissed off because they just don't want to change, it's the fact that you can't accept the fact that somebody wants to be identified as something different because it doesn't fit your fucking view. Well, I don't give a fuck about your view anymore because you don't give a fuck about mine. And that's what happens. And that tug and pull happens.
Right, you're right. Which is, and I like to think that it's those people, like you said, that want to almost like, not want to hear your view, or maybe they're just not open to it. I'm not sure, but I like to think that that's what it is. It's a they just don't know. They don't know what.
Oh, they know. A lot of people know. Yeah, nobody's kidding me anymore, man. No, people know. People know when they do the shit that they do.
Well, no, I'm not
and
saying
they do it, and they may not know the reason why they do it, but they know they do it.
I'm saying they might not understand why, like where you're coming from, as far as the example you just gave.
Well, they might not.
Right. That's why I because they don't. Again, if you see it more in society, well, he's depressed, and everyone's depressed, and then they're like, whoa, and they don't understand the difference.
But people can understand the difference. People can read science. People can read all sorts of stuff.
You're right.
People still deny it because it doesn't fit what they want. And this is a whole other episode, because this is my problem with positive psychology. This is my problem with a lot of the shit that I read. This is my problem because you cannot say to somebody you can be whatever the fuck you want, and as long as you believe that, it'll happen, because it does not happen. It will not happen. And I will say this. I think you cannot turn a 5'2", skinny kid into a 7-foot center for the Lakers. No matter how bad you want to play basketball.
Right. No, I know
it just doesn't happen.
But I think you could say, like, you could become a basketball player. You may not be a center for an NBA. Is it NBA?
You might be able to become a basketball player. I don't even know if I'd be pushing that.
I know. I'm not saying push
but
it, but
I'm just being realistic.
Like,
I'm just like that's the thing. Like,
I think you're right, but I'm just.
And
saying,
I think when you're beneath the remains, I think you have to be real too. And say, okay, is like, and again, when you're in the throes of it, though, do you recognize what's real?
Oof, that's a tough question.
I don't know. Maybe we'll answer that in the next episode.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Hey, are you beneath the remains? What are you doing to get out? Is your arm out? Are you able to breathe? As long as you're able to breathe, you can fight your way out. If you got an arm out, you can start pulling shit off of you. You can do it. We've done it. We keep doing it.
We keep doing it.
We keep doing it. That's the thing that I want everybody to take away from this every week, is the fact that, you know what, man? Nobody's got it all figured out.
No, it's a continuous process.
It is.
I think these steps can help make the process less invasive. Some days less tough, but there's always going to be work on some level.
Always. Do your work. Get well.
Be safe.
Stay
above. Thank you for giving us a listen. New episodes every Wednesday. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can share, rate, review, and even subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. Other ways to support the show: follow us on social media, share the content, share our episodes. You can also buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/abovegroundpod. For further concerns, show ideas, or just to say hi, you can email us at abovegroundpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for listening and supporting mental health. Keep the conversation going and stay above.